Rosita Gurley Giron.
Present.
Counselor David G. Romero.
Present.
Counselor Barbara Casey.
Here.
Counselor Vincent Howell.
Here.
Counselor David A. Ulibarri Jr.
Here.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have a quorum.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilor Ulibarri, would you do the moment of silence?
Moment of silence for Dennis Mitchell, who used to be a radio announcer for this town for a lot of years. For his family, keep all our prayers to the family.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, members of the council, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. What is the pleasure of the council? Councilor Casey.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Howell.
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.
Yes.
Counselor Casey.
Yes.
Counselor Romero.
Yes.
Have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Ulibarri Jr. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for April 11 and April 18, 2018. What is the pleasure of the council?
Madam Mayor.
I will give it to Councilor Romero.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as amended by Councilor Casey.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Councilor Howell.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.
Yes.
Counselor Romero.
Yes.
Counselor Casey.
Yes.
Counselor Howell.
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Romero. The next one is mayor's appointments and reports. I have a report today, as a matter of fact, and I'd like to read it into the record. I love Las Vegas. Nuestra plaza es mi vida. And you all know this. The city is our life, and there has been a lot of hurt and pain that has occurred. The healing needs to start with us as community leaders. That's very important. We need to remember that today is the first day of our lives. As mayor of this great city, I ask that we make an effort to start off this new administration on the right path. A positive path, the path of civility, so we can restore respect back into the offices that we each hold and earn the public's confidence as a team. For the next 2 years, we have to work together as a team if we are to make a positive difference. Yesterday, we, the governing body of the City of Las Vegas, met for 7 hours and focused on our interaction as a group of leaders. I believe we have come to a consensus that we will start with the updating and drafting of our rules and procedures as a first step, and we recognize our needs for improvement in a lot of areas. Our workshop also covered the organizational chart and the need to redraft and clearly define the appointed officers' roles and responsibilities, reporting and communication requirements. We all took a DISC leadership assessment, which gave us insight into our behavioral preferences of each other. Hopefully, this will help us to approach each other in a more civil manner. We conducted a SWOT analysis, which is specific to this governing body, and analysis of an improvement plan that will be provided to us at a later date. I would also like to thank Greg Stewart, who was the facilitator, Randall Brown, who was also one of the sponsors, and Charlie Spick and Span for hosting the event. And I want to thank all the individuals who did show up there. I want to thank the governing body for being present, and also the individuals who went in and provided some public comment. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please continue. Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item on the agenda is mayor's recognitions and proclamations. I have none of this. Next item on the agenda, Madam Mayor, members of the council, is public input. The first one is Mr. Emilio Aragon. Mr. Aragon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Good evening, Mr.
Council.
Aragon.
I just wanted to make some brief comments about a little advice that we used to go around. I don't hear it too often anymore, but never harass people in a restaurant. because you never know what they do in the back with your food, right? And along those lines, never harass your immigrants, because they're the ones that pick our food, our vegetables, and our fruits. Right now, there's quite a few fields that are going, they're just rotten, because we don't have anybody to pick them. You treat your immigrants bad, we don't, it's like cutting off your nose to spite your face. And then along, I don't know if there is, Cordia and Diane, I want to thank them for, and the other farmers market too, because right now we're getting to the point where our food is in jeopardy. If we don't take care of it, Walmart it can't pick it, Lowe's can't pick it. It's got to be picked and transported down to for our consumption. So we've got to start showing even more appreciation for our farmers market and our farmers. Hello, Chief. And I just want to add that as a word of support for the work that Cordia and Diane do. I don't know the other people from the other farmers market, but I think they should get a vote of support also, because it's getting more and more important that we protect our food. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Thank you, Mr. Ottawa. The next person is Georgina on farmers market and immigrants as well. Good evening, Ms. Ortega.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council, community. I'm here in support for the farmers market. We are a food desert on the west side. The only food that people can purchase is at a dollar store also. Do you guys all eat at those places? Probably not, because you have grocery stores on your side of town. We don't. There are people who don't have vehicles, who don't have the transportation to get there. And I want for you all to think seriously about the west side as a food desert, because the people still need to eat. And the farmers market is a great place on the west side. Perfect location. You can walk to it anywhere on the west side. Have you ever walked from the Mills and Hot Springs all the way to Walmart? Probably not, because you all have cars. Average person on the west side, 25,000, maybe less, with a family of 5 and more. So think about that. A food desert, low income, and the only options they have is to go to Allsup's and the dollar stores. That's no way to raise a family, to feed a family. Farmer markets are incredibly a wealth for a community, and it's a healthy community that you're trying to show the public and your community is by supporting farmers markets on both sides of the town. Don't matter, but they work. So I encourage you to support this zoning for the west side, and maybe one of these days you guys ought to go walk and see how long it's going to take you to get to Walmart, to get to Lowe's. Just on the corner of Hot Springs and Hot Springs and Mills. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Ortega. Thank you. Next is Mr. Miguel Angel on the farmers market as well. Good evening, Mr. Angel.
Madam Mayor, council people, I too want to support the two farmers markets that exist in Las Vegas. Are doing an invaluable service to the people of Las Vegas, and I'd like to talk a little bit about health. I'm going to make a couple of basic remarks here first. I went around West Las Vegas the other day and counted 62 grocery stores that used to exist on the west side in Las Vegas, mom and pop stores. And I counted 12 of them that were fully stocked with meats, fruits, vegetables, canned foods, and like on the west side, only on the west side. We could all walk to them when I was a kid. There are three stores, three grocery stores on the east side that sell fresh fruits, vegetables, and meats. They're on the east side. On the west side, we have not one. Last year, when Tierra Encantada opened up just 2 blocks from my house, I was thrilled. At last, a mercado with fruits, vegetables, fresh eggs, meat, flowers, chiles roasting. It was indeed a welcome cultural farmers market. Cultura is absolutely a necessity in our community. It was, and where an occasional musical group could come and play, and a place where people could walk to. I welcomed it as a start to what I have seen in many, many other progressive communities from Oregon, California. I lived in California for many years, but I've been to Arizona, Texas, and Colorado, where grassroots efforts are taking root. This is exactly what this community needs. I took a group of young people from West Las Vegas High School to see the building, and they, as a permanent home of Tierra Encantada, and they immediately suggested they wanted to do a mural there and wanted to invite their friends from Robertson High School and Junior High School to assist them in doing a mural. We've discussed that with Diane and Cordia, and I think it's a fantastic way of building interest for a healthy community. And I want to echo what Georgina said. The West Side is a food desert. It is a food desert. The 3 grocery stores are on the east side. How about a little grassroots development on our side of town? Where are the ideas, the projects, and the plans to do that? I think the recognition of the rezoning is a great start in that direction. We in Casa de Cultura have been working with our community garden and community people that are interested in connecting up with grassroots community gardens, with school lunch programs, with senior centers and citizens to initiate an organic, healthy system of nutrition for anyone in Las Vegas. I wanted to say a couple of words about health, but I can be allowed to one more minute. We've been trying to do a study of diabetes to test every kid in the city of Las Vegas for childhood diabetes. And we're not doing this lightly, because I've had conversations with the Central Family Health Clinic, Alta Vista, and state health professionals, and we are in a diabetes epidemic here. We have had kids that are 11, 12, 13 years old with full-blown diabetes. Full-blown diabetes. That's basically diet, but also lack of exercise. The schools don't have any PE anymore, right? We have that kind of an environment. We had a couple of kids that reported from the Clinica that have had strokes. A 12-year-old with a stroke had suffered a stroke. Another one that was 13 had a heart attack because of his diabetes. So we think that we should be working to get our kids a healthy environment with healthy food. And I want to comment that I want to commend the 2 farmers market for a start in that direction. We need to be doing a lot more, and therefore I would wholeheartedly recommend that you accept this rezoning to accomplish that on the west side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Martin. Thank you. The next person is Ms. Diane Lindsay. That's fine. That's fine. Mr. Wade Slick on lodger's tax.
Mayor, councilors, pastors. Good news and a little bit of a problem. New Mexico Department of Tourism has awarded $54,000 to our community for the next fiscal year starting July 1. This is up from the current fiscal year tourism grant of $46,000. This renewal grant continues I-25 billboards and ads in New Mexico Magazine and True Adventure Guide, but adds Albuquerque Magazine, Texas Monthly, TV ad production, and digital reader boards in Albuquerque. 34% of the grant advertises our events. 66% advertises Las Vegas in general. Main Street will use 2% of the grant for its event advertising. Clearly, Main Street secured this grant for the benefit of the city, not just for itself. Virginia Marujo and I have seen notable success from the current tourism grant. Lodgers tax collections are up 10% since we started placing tourism advertising in November. A 10% increase in lodgers tax collections means 7,200 more people rented a room, ate dinner, filled their gas tank, and bought a CD for the car or a present for the family back home. Gross receipts tax collections, one measure of the Las Vegas economy in general, are also up 10%. While not the only reason, visitor spending makes a major contribution to a better Las Vegas economy. But we have a timing problem. City Lodgers Tax Board and city staff encouraged Main Street to apply and were reasonably certain that the city would provide the match for the grant. There is $200,000 of unused lodgers tax funds sitting in the bank that can be used for the match. But it's not on tonight's agenda for council to approve the match for this tourism grant. And Main Street must sign the tourism contract for the grant by this Friday. Without official city commitment to match, Main Street can't sign. If Main Street doesn't sign, the money goes away. How can the city assure the Main Street Board of its commitment to match by Friday? Now that you are aware of the tourism grant problem and the great benefit of tourism grants in general, I'm certain you will solve this timing problem this week. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Slick. The next person is Mr. Marshall Poole.
Madam Mayor and Council.
Mr. Poole, how are you?
This is a report of the shelter activities in April. We took in 100 animals, 58 of which were dogs, 18 of which were puppies, and 42 cats. One continuing problem that we wanted to mention tonight is 57 of those 58 dogs came in with no identification whatsoever. No collar, no tags, no embedded chips. We have no idea who the owner guardians of these animals are. And we have 32 kennels at the city shelter. With nearly 2,000 animals coming in every year, we cannot hold these animals indefinitely, hoping that an owner guardian is going to come in to claim them. And we often have citizens come in as much as 2 months later saying, gee, I've been looking for my dog, do you guys have them? And after 2 months, we cannot keep those animals. In fact, really after 10 days, we can't keep them. We have to find another home for them. We did adopt 14 animals locally, cats and dogs, and we adopt as many as we can locally, but there's no way we can adopt 2,000 a year. So we just urge citizens to identify their animal in some way, either with a collar, with a tag, they should have a rabies tag. 53 of the dogs, of the 58 dogs that came in had no evidence of a rabies vaccination. So even if they have a rabies tag, we can track down who's the owner is. But without any identification at all, we simply cannot. So citizens get disappointed. We're sorry, but we can't do anything about this problem because we have to find a home for those animals. We did trap 17 feral or wild cats last month, which is a low number. We usually do 30, but we had a very windy trapping day, and a lot of the traps got triggered, and the animals didn't get caught. We transported 49 dogs to 6 different agencies in Colorado and elsewhere. We transported 24 citizen-owned dogs and 5 citizen-owned cats to Santa Fe for low-cost spay-neuter, and that's our $25 cost to them for the surgery, the medications, everything, including the transportation back and forth to Santa Fe. On a lighter note, at Highlands University, we brought a number of dogs over to Highlands during finals week, and we find over the years that students really enjoy having some dogs around to pet and walk, etc. And also, we have a new storage facility, a new storage container for pet food, and we conducted a contest, and a woman by the name of Belen Romero, who is a native Las Vegan, submitted the winning design for that, and we're getting donated paint, and we're going to be painting that storage facility, which is in the back of the shelter. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Poole.
Thank you.
The next person on the public input is Corina Laszlo Henry.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, good evening. First off, I want to commend you for getting together to improve communication and cooperation yesterday. I'm really behind that. I hope that helps. I'm here to just address a few matters in the charter that are overdue. And I think everybody is aware that the charter was adopted in 2012, long before anybody here was in this position. The governing body by charter is supposed to set the magistrate judge's salary. There was a 2012 or 2011 deadline in the charter for that action. Also, by ordinance, the governing body was to establish the powers and duties for Citizens Advisory Committee for the police department, and they need that guidance, and you as the legislative body, the legislators, are the ones to make those policy decisions. Also outstanding is that the charter requires the governing body to adopt by ordinance ethics and campaign finance, along with penalties for that. And so I'm encouraging you to do that. As well, there are the inconsistent provisions of Chapter 14 that remain. That was our governance chapter. And I think that there have been a couple of different approaches to that run through the mill. There's probably some drafts, or an RFP is a possibility for something to, because it's quite a bit of work to draft those ordinances, and the 59-10A of the ordinances do require them to be drafted or reviewed by the city attorney, or I guess somebody in that capacity on a contract basis. So, you can solicit the input of the departments, and I would encourage you to do so. And I encourage you to get that compliance issue addressed so that the city can move forward and have clarity, and not, we can always blame past administrations, past city attorneys, et cetera, but it's just the work that is at hand, and I encourage you to get that, perhaps putting out an RFP, but a solutions-based approach to that. I also want to encourage, I believe that the city is, because of the hard work of rank and file employees, really pushing through and trudging along when there's a lot of staffing positions that just frankly have not been filled. And so I encourage this governing body to push for a transparent qualifications-based process for both officers and department directors, and I think that's consistent with the city charter and also with the mayor's power of appointment and the councilor's power of meaningful approval, confirmation, and it's also best practice in my mind. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Corina. The last person is Mr. Lalo Sanchez on suggestions.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and all you other people. I just have a couple of things here. First of all, I would like to thank our city manager for clearing finally that property on North Gonzalez Street. The sun finally shines through now to the people that live across the
Looks
street.
nice, doesn't it?
And I really do appreciate that. After 10 years that I had been fighting for that, it finally got done, and I thank you. Secondly, we need a lot of revenue in this town to be able to fix a lot of things, potholes, crosswalks, streets, you name it, we need it. And we need to generate a lot of money. And now is the time for you all to jump on the wagon and decriminalize marijuana. It already happened in Albuquerque. We can't let them just take all the money over there. It's going to happen all over the state. It doesn't matter what anybody says, it's going to happen. So the sooner you do it, the sooner you will start generating money for the community and actually for yourselves. Now you can put money in your pockets without people complaining about it, because it's going to be money all over the place. That I can guarantee you. Secondly, actually you should somebody should make a motion to decriminalize marijuana right here and now, and you don't even have to go into executive session and legalize it and start collecting money as soon as possible. And if that's not possible, then legalize pot for recreation. It's going to happen no matter what you all say you don't want it or whatever. It's going to happen, and it's already happening in Albuquerque, and it should start happening here so that we can generate money to help the community in every way, form, or fashion. If you all don't agree on decriminalizing or legalizing marijuana, then I suggest that you all put meters all around the city to generate some kind of money. You will generate at least money to be able to fix the potholes, paint crosswalks, for something. You got to generate money somehow. Secondly, or thirdly, or lastly, is that poor Indian at the plaza that had been carved out. It's deteriorating. You all need to either put some linseed oil, varnish, or something else, something to preserve it. It's deteriorating. It's already starting to crack, the sun, the weather, and everything else. And it's really a shame that somebody came and carved that thing out and then just let it go disarray. So that's more or less my suggestions tonight. If you all, like I say, if you all want to generate some revenue for the city, those are the two things that I think would generate a lot of money for it. And it's going to happen, whether it's today or next year or next century, but it's going to happen. And whether you all do it now, you would all be more prestige, I guess you could say, in saying that we did it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. That concludes our public input, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item is presentations. The first one is presentation by Zachary, our librarian. He will be awarding prizes to winners of the second annual book reading contest hosted by Carnegie Public Library.
Madam Mayor, Council, as some of you may know, we held our first book reading contest last year and had a good turnout with the number of kids that participated. This year I got approximately 227 kids registered and approximately 48 actually turned in the reading logs to physically participate in the book reading contest. The names I'm going to present to you tonight are the first place winners for grades 1st through 6th for both East and West school districts. So last year we had it open to just 3rd through 5th grade. This year we went a step further and opened it 1st through 6th for any child that lives within the East or West school district. So if I can get Curtis Gonzalez, 1st grade from Armijo Elementary. And just so everybody can see, first thing that everyone will get is a certificate. And for all grand prize winners, they get a Kindle Fire 7. Naoki E. Right over here. Naoki, come around. In 2nd grade, we have Isaac Benavides. In 3rd grade, we had Braden Chavez and Diego Tenoch. In 4th grade, I only had one person from city schools participate, and that was John Paul Money. And from the West School, I had Stacy Erickson. And from the West Schools, I had Stacy Erickson. Congratulations. I have 3 more, 2 5th graders, one of whom is a homeschooler, Annie Ratzlaff, and congratulations. From Mike Mateo Elementary, I had Shanae Lujan. And the final one I have was the lone 6th grader from West Middle School, Sherlock Chen. That's it.
Everybody get close. Yes. Do this together. The council waits.
First grade.
Wait, let's see, he's a little bit too tall, let's see. Can you get switch places? Yeah, well, that's a good idea. Yeah, you got it, you got it. There you go.
There we go.
Yeah. Wait, the one in green has to drop to the front. Guys.
Yeah, then you switch you guys.
Yeah, those two could switch. Yeah. There you go. There you go.
Feels like the paparazzi. Hollywood.
Anybody else want to come over and take pictures? Mommy and Dad? Got it? Got it? Congratulations.
Great job, Zach.
And just in closing, for everyone to hear first, for our summer reading program, which will start June 13th, we'll be hosting another book reading contest, and that'll go till approximately August 1st.
Zachary, thank you so much for all that you're doing. This is awesome. Reading is the key to everything, future success of these children, and I commend you for the hard work. Congratulations.
Thank you, Zach.
The The next presentation, Madam Mayor, members of the council, is a presentation by Mr. Leo Maestas from the Office of Emergency Management, providing information on OEM. Hi, Leo. Welcome, Mr. Maestas. How are you?
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and Council. We'll just set this up real quick and
Thank you. There you go. Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
so we really wanted to present to you folks today what emergency management does. There's a little bit of a miscommunication as to what emergency management is and its role in the community. So I put together a little presentation so we can kind of display to the council and the mayor what we really do and what we've been up to the past year or so. So once it's loaded, we'll get into it. Well, I don't know if it's recognizing it or...
Did you need some assistance? Virginia, is she here? Virginia Maribor.
Is this the one here? Well, I guess I can just turn this around and show you folks what the, it's going to be hard to see, really hard to see, but
It's saying there's no signal. What's going on with it? Okay, there's three processes of cable. It's either video, S-video, or HDMI. What kind of program do you have?
well, it's on VGA.
It looks like we're making it happen. There we go. Thank you.
So again, my name is Leo Maestas. Our agency or our department consists of two people, myself and Kanya Avila. She's an emergency management specialist. A lot of questions are, who are we and what do we do? Really, emergency management has four phases to what we do. The first is preparedness, which is building bridges, building the communication between all the agencies, elected officials. And in the preparedness portion of the phase, this is where we do our classes, our courses, our trainings. We produce plans. Right now we have emergency operations plan and our multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan are current through 2019. We are working on our CWPP wildland plan. We are also composing what we call an MCI plan, mass casualty incident plan, in lieu of the accident that happened on I-25 in January. And at the table is all the first responders, all the responding agencies that would handle that incident. And then we move into response. Response is really putting those plans into action. Going back a second, we adopt a plan and then we get into the response when we have an incident. Then we actually exercise the plan and see if it works. Then we move into recovery. Recovery is where we try to get the city back to its normal functioning, government functioning as soon as possible. Along with recovery is we're able to request funding from the state or federal government for roads or bridges or any type of infrastructure that was damaged during a disaster. Then we move into mitigation and prevention. Mitigation and prevention is really where we analyze a disaster that we've gone through and see how we can ease the pain for the next time it happens. Right now we're working on, with some of the council and public works, to clean out some of the drainage systems in the city so that they have no obstructions to get to the river, which causes a little bit of a backup in these inundated flood areas. So moving on, the biggest portion to fail in an incident is communication. As you can see from this map here, it's obviously the San Miguel County map. Most of the cell and communication towers are on the western part of the county. As you go east, there's not much communication. Around the city, there's plenty of communication, whether it be cell phone towers or communication towers from different entities or different agencies. And with that, so a big portion of what emergency management does is we seek funding for communications in case we ever need to use it within the city or throughout the county. In the top right corner is our communications / mobile emergency operations center. That can be deployed anywhere, whether it be a fire or flooding in a rural area. Within that trailer, there's the bottom right corner. It's a piece of equipment. Sorry, it's a little bit small, but it's a piece of equipment called the AC-1000. What that piece of equipment can do is when an incident happens, you have all these different responding agencies. Everybody's on a different frequency. Nobody can talk to each other. So through the AC-1000, you can patch everybody together so that they're speaking the same language, so to speak. And then you can disconnect them. So state police is talking to state police, city fire, city police, everybody's going back to their own frequencies. But that has the capability of having everybody talk to each other without having to go through dispatch. And then the back side of the trailer, which is the middle picture on the bottom, is what we can use for a mobile emergency operations center, if need be. We have 2 flat screens in there. We have a Polycom video conferencing system that we can communicate with the state DOC, the Department of Health communication center as well, and anybody else that has video capabilities. So let's say there's an incident in the middle of nowhere, we can video broadcast from here to either here at the city, the county EOC, or to the state if need be. Another portion of what we do is communications. The top right corner is what we call a Roadrunner. It's a mobile AM alert trailer. So that can be set up in the mountains somewhere if there's an evacuation for flooding or a wildfire, and you can broadcast a message to the community on an AM radio station, which is 1680, and it'll run on a loop, or you can even get on there live and broadcast. The bottom left corner is our AM station at the EOC at the county administration building. That is running constantly on 1670. You can get on there currently. It runs about 15 different PSAs, having to do with flooding, heat exhaustion, DWI, a ton of different messages are broadcast continuously on there. Again, the last slide, all that equipment was purchased with Homeland Security funding. And the next few slides will be the same thing. Top left corner is a power trader. We have, I think, 7 generators going from big to small. Power distribution centers, if there's a power outage in a neighborhood or in a community, we can supply temporary power to those areas. Top right corner is what we call a water buffalo for non-potable water. So if a community or an area needs water, that's 1,500 gallon tank that we can carry there. The bottom right corner is a Western shelter, which is about 19 by 33. It has heating and cooling, so it can be deployed in cold weather, hot weather. The capacity is probably about 100 people on there, but we do have human shelter trailers with these power packs, which you see on the left bottom corner, which consist of pillows, blankets, cots, personal hygiene kits, lanterns, and weather radios for 200 individuals or 200 families, I guess you would say. Again, all this equipment is purchased with Homeland Security money. The top left corner is a hazmat trailer. It's equipped with a ton of hazmat equipment. Me and Chief Montoya have visited a few times. We currently, the city or the county does not have a hazmat team. That's always something we can always work towards. There's a lot of funding challenges that come with trying to fund a hazmat team. The right is some equipment that's in that trailer. The bottom left corner is a vehicle that we purchased to pull these 2 trailers because they're very heavy equipment and you need something of its size to purchase. I mean to move them. This is a project we just finished for the detention center, which houses obviously Las Vegas inmates as well as the county and other counties as well. This is the first of its kind, meaning Homeland Security usually funds generators through what they call a SHISCAP grant. This is the first in the state that they have funded through mitigation grant. And obviously the cost there is $165,000. You can see the size of the new generator on the right versus the generator on the left. The generator on the left was not, it couldn't hold the load of the facility. So the new generator can fully power the whole facility for at least a week, for 7 days, before we can get permanent power back on. These are some of the other grants that we manage currently. This disaster 4197, these are tied to the floods of 2014. That's 13 county roads for $433,000 and some change, and then a San Jeronimo Bridge for almost $800,000 that we are. 13 sites are already done, so we're waiting for the last funding. We're starting the construction or the procurement process on the bridge. The bottom one is also another grant that we just received about 6 months ago. We're getting ready to install 6 training pods throughout the county and some of the fire departments. And they're able to communicate with each other through video instead of having, let's say, Thermothina that's an hour away come in for an hour training. They can video conference in with this grant. This is the first FEMA grant that we've ever done. All our other grants are usually through Homeland Security and then administered to FEMA. During the monsoon seasons, we do a lot of monitoring of the weather and the water levels at the gate at the canal going to Story Lake. As we all know, that caused the big flooding through the city a few years back. The bottom left corner is working with some of the acequias, closing off some of the ditches that were causing extra water to add to the problems that we were having during the flooding or during some heavy rains that we had last year. The bottom right corner is a waterway down in San Agustin, which is right outside of Romeroville. So the residents couldn't pass this road because it was blocked by that's actually the Dinas River down in that area. It's substantially larger than it is here in the city. Another big portion of what we do is exercises. The far left is emergency operations center drill, where we power up everything. We connect all our computers, our our IP phone system. We power up the video conferencing system. This exercise, we actually communicated with the Department of Health. We use the flood scenario because that's something that we kind of deal with regularly, yearly. The top corner, we did the mobile EOC drill, again, communications drill, using the flood exercise or the flood as our scenario. And the bottom right corner is the production of sandbags that we did last year with our trustees. We have a hurdle now this year that they did away with these programs. The individuals that are usually in the trustee program, they're actually releasing them so that they can open up space for other individuals. So we'd have to work closely with the public works from the county and the city to do the sandbag production, which I don't think should be a problem. We made close to 7,000 bags, I think, last year in about a 2-month period. We also do a lot of community outreach. I didn't have a lot of space to put a lot of the things we do. We do the take back at Highlands. We do LAPC Expo every year in August. This year's will be August 4th. On the left-hand side, we work closely with our Aries and Ham groups, Mr. Bob and Sally Witters. This is a high altitude balloon launch that we did with the West Las Vegas schools. We did 2 balloon launches, one in 16 and one in 17, 2016, 2017. They both, the first launch got up to 62,000 feet, and the second launch was up to 89,000 feet. We have footage and tons of pictures from all of it. The first one ended up on the other side of Tunckerry, and this consists of a triangle that has a GPS tracking device, a GoPro camera, and then the second one ended up up in northeastern Quantico, close to Clayton and Amistad. That's some of the, and then there's tons of other outreach things, but I wanted to keep it short for you folks. So, is there any questions that I can answer, or?
Questions, comments?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Maestas, welcome. Thank you for all you do. I just wanted to thank you for working with our Public Works Department to really clean out those, what do you call them?
Drainage canals?
Yeah.
Or culverts?
Culverts, right. Thank you. Because there's a lot of community members have been talking to us about why is our area being flooded, and they identified as that culvert, either they're too small or too clogged up.
Right.
So thank you for working on that.
There's also a campaign that we're going to start having to do with that flooding. You'll probably see it in the optic and some of the newspaper and the radio about prevention of flooding prior to it happening. You know, being ready before it happens, other than calling us while the flooding's already happening in your home. It's a little too late at that point. So we're going to see if that takes off as well. So.
It was a great event that you sponsored, the Take Back event at, what is that, near Highlands Park, Melody Park. Yeah. And I saw a lot of people there, so that's good. So they really got a lot of good information. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilor Romero.
Leo, I just had one question. Does your office provide, I know I have the certification for emergency preparedness for elected officials.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know specifically what the number is, but I do have that. I was just wondering, do you provide that for everything? Basically, that training provides, you know, if an emergency happened, you know, who will be controlled, you know, what everybody's step is, or role would be. And I'm just wondering, you know.
Another slide that I should have put in here, but is the types of classes that we bring in. We try to bring in at least once a month from FEMA courses. We just had a COOP plan, which identifies within the government agency contingency plan of having a 1, 2, and 3 in charge in case the first or second can't be there. And that would be one of the government official classes that we provide. We did just have that one. We have 2 other classes coming up. We also have a class coming up for the schools. Now that active shooter is a big thing right now, so that's another thing that we bring in. We also bring in our higher level ICS classes in February every year. Most of the other classes you can do online, but we do bring in a ton of classes, and I should have put that on there. But.
Any other questions? I have a couple. On the emergency, you stated that the alarms are primarily in the south area.
I'm sorry, say that again.
On the emergency alarms, You stated that the majority of the alarms are in the south part of the county. Is that correct?
So no, there is no, there's only one emergency siren,
Okay.
which is by the detention center.
No,
There's no others that exist.
Okay. And my question is, can that siren pretty much target the entire?
No.
No. Okay. So do you have a plan for that?
So there's mass communication systems that we're using. We had Everbridge. The funding that we used to acquire Everbridge in the past is no longer available. So that was for a 3-year. And that is, if there's any type of alert, we can send out a mass message through text message or landline. I've looked into other options, which is Nixle. It's a free service. And so that's what we have now. That's another campaign that will be on that flyer. So again, those systems are only as good as who's opted in for it. So I know in the years past, we had 200 and we had paid $26,000 for a mass alert system. So only 200 people will get the message. And then on top of that, you get some negative comments as well when they're getting too many messages. But I don't think that we have the types of emergencies that you would need a siren for versus if you were in Tornado Alley or a hurricane or those ventures, earthquake. We can look at funding to try to purchase it, but then we would have to educate the community as to what the siren means, because that does make
An emergency situation.
Well, it gets people alarmed and they don't know what they're alarmed for.
Yes,
They're
of
just
course.
running around and they're not educated as to what the alarm is for. So I think that's why in the past they haven't gone to get more sirens in it.
And when do you anticipate to bring the emergency preparedness plan to the city?
The EOP is currently, it's current right now.
It's adopted.
And it's adopted by the city and the county. That isn't due to be updated till 2019,
Okay.
Along with the mitigation plan, December of 2019. So we applied for a mitigation grant to hire a contractor so we can update the mitigation grant. We applied that the last part of last year. We'll get the funding this year, and then it's about a 12-month period to update the plan so that we'll hit the December 2019 deadline.
Mr. Maestas,
Yes.
I want to commend you on an outstanding presentation here today to the council. This is something that I think the council needed to see. I think that you're doing an excellent job for us, and you're becoming more and more knowledgeable with your duties and responsibilities to the county. And we're grateful to have you in that office. I commend you and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, yes, one more question.
One last question. I know the training that I took, and they had mentioned about it, and that was right about the time when I was getting off the school board at West, where if cell phone towers went out and telephone lines went out, there was a way for the entity, in this case it would be the city, to apply for that phone line.
So what I have right now is called a COG number. That's only emergency management can have that phone number. So if all phone lines are busy, I have a number we can use to get ahead of everybody's phone line in case of emergency. Yeah, but only emergency management offices can apply for those.
If I recall, they had, because there was a way for like the schools, and I mentioned it to Mr. I have the information, and
I'd have to look into that.
They had said that every entity could get that number just in case.
Councilor, why don't you get together with Mr. Maestas? That's important. When it comes to the safety of this community and the county, I think that we really need to work together as a team. We need to share information. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Continue. Thank you very much, Mr. Maestas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda, Madam Mayor, members of the council, is the city manager's report. The first person is Virginia Marujo, and will talk to us, go review the Fiesta schedule with you, see if you have any changes or anything that you see that we still need to add or delete. And then we're going to go ahead and print it up and start taking it out to the public. Yeah.
Madam Mayor, Council, good evening.
Ms. Marujo, good evening. How are you?
So they're going to be passing around the schedule. This is pretty much what we have for fiestas. There's, of course, 6 days this week, so it's running June 29th to July 4th. If you take a look at that first one, it basically gives you the schedule of the entertainment. We have 45 combined bands, dancers, and different forms of entertainment for this year's schedule. That also includes something we had talked a while back, which is Monday, July 2nd. We had mentioned having a youth day. So that whole first set in the afternoon is all entertainers who are 24 or 25 and under. If you look starting on June 29th, we are doing vendor setups, but we do have the Reina reception that night. It is being held at El Rialto this year. We are going to have the reception and the dance. That is being featured with Suavecito. Then we have June 30th, which will include the parade. It's going to be the same times and same routes as it usually is. Of course, followed by Madam Mayor's speech and the opening ceremonies. And then we will begin the entertainment that will run through. We are having the Fiesta Run again this year, which is sponsored by Southwest Capital. And that again will be same times. This year they are including a children's run as well. So that will be included since we're really trying to get more youth involved. If you move down the schedule, we again continue to have the entertainment. And then on 4th of July, we do end that earlier because we do have the fireworks. The second page that you see is just kind of an overview that I gave everybody just to kind of get an idea of what we're working on. Again, the Reina competition and the information there, we are including La Reinita this year, which is ages 8 to 12 years old. Also, there's more of the parade information, which includes the theme for this year, which is Nuestra Cultura, Nuestra Vida. We are united behind our culture. We're really focusing on culture this year, which is nice because we also have other events such as Heritage Week and Family Day and a few other events that are really focusing on that particular theme for this year. The carnival we will have again this year, and that will be for the full duration of the fiestas. The fireworks, entertainment, Fiesta Run, which I covered. We do have marketing that is currently already out. We have the National, which is on the Amtrak train, covers 500 destinations, 46 states, 3 Canadian provinces, 84,600 riders a day, and 300 trains. That's just that particular one alone, and that is promoting fiestas and Rough Rider Motorcycle Rally. Of course, the websites and social media, radio, billboards. We have 2 between Santa Fe and Albuquerque, which are through the New Mexico True Grant with Main Street. We also have one right here by Romeroville, which is lit up, and that's going to focus our headliner, which is Stephanie Montiel for this year. Also, we have one that is going to be near Wagamount, so we attract those people coming from Colorado. And we do have the ad in the New Mexico Magazine. We have vendors. We have 35 on the plaza this year. We already have 17 on Bridge Street. We're working with the businesses on Bridge Street so that we can work together instead of working against each other this year, because we've had conflict in the past, so we're really working with them so that we can work with the ones that are going to be open, and that way we don't have those conflicts. Other things is Recreation Department is holding a mush ball tournament that opening weekend. Little League districts are that weekend, and of course there's going to be more businesses open on Plaza and Bridge Street as we talk to. So that's basically just a rundown of the many things that happen in fiestas.
It's looking very good, Ms. Marujo. I know you and the staff have been putting in countless hours to make this schedule work. I want to commend you on your hard work. And I don't know if the council at this point in time has any questions.
I just have one because I don't know how to read this, I guess.
the schedule here for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. The times from 8 to 10 o'clock. It says close, close, set up. What does that
Yes,
mean?
what that means is basically, we've always started fiestas at 10 o'clock, because any earlier, we really don't have very many
Okay.
people in the park.
I get it.
so.
Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Martin. So if you have any questions, by all means, call Ms. Marujo. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and start publicizing the schedule. Okay, well, I have a question. Then, of course, the light show.
The light show. Everybody's asking.
We're
about
working
that.
on that.
So this year,
We're working on it.
This year.
Okay, we better ask now. Otherwise, we're done. Okay, go ahead.
So this year we're going to do a light show, which is really interesting. You see these at concerts all the time where you have these laser light shows behind the entertainers. We're going to have those on the days where we have entertainment at night, which is Saturday, June 30th through July 3rd. That will be on at the gazebo along with the entertainment. So we have a combination of the music and the lights to go with there.
So they will be.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Howell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Ms. Gallegos, Ms. Marujo. Question on the start of the fiestas prior to actual everything beginning. Have you addressed the concerns that the businesses on Bridge Street had relayed to you last year?
Yes.
What kind of measures have you put in place?
Yeah, so the biggest concern was that they were having problems being open and we were putting vendors in front of their businesses. So this year what we've done is we've created a plan to go, and we've been in contact with those businesses since. We keep in contact with them. But starting next week, we're going to go and we're going to run through and make sure we have the correct list of who's going to be open and who's going to be closed. And then that way, those businesses that are open, we're going to try to avoid putting vendors in front, and we're going to try to put the vendors in front of the businesses that are closed. So that way, and then the other thing that we're really working on is that during the entertainment, when the MC comes on, we're going to mention those businesses that are open so that those in the park will know who's open and they can go visit those.
Okay. And you have wheelchair path for all the people that are in wheelchairs?
Yeah, those are required through the fire department. We have to have, certain paths open, and we have to have so much space between everything. So, yeah, we'll be following those.
Okay, good.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilor Romero.
I just had one question. I saw the Little League tournaments are going to be, during what time during the fiestas will those be happening?
Those are going to be happening, I believe, all day. So,
Like what days?
Saturday and Sunday.
They'll be starting on the 29th is what we understand.
They'll have an evening opening ceremony and then, and then they'll move. So we'll have two things going on at Rodriguezville that Saturday, because the mush ball tournament's only going to be Saturday. So we'll have two things going on at Rodriguezville during that weekend.
And it looks like they will be having the tournaments, but they still have to come in and check the fields and make sure they meet the requirements. But it does seem like they will be occurring at the same time.
These are district tournaments?
Yes.
Very important.
And possibly state.
Possibly,
possibly
yes.
state.
Possibly
Yeah, if we
state.
meet the requirements, it'll be.
And I just, I don't know, this is sort of going off topic. I've been involved with Little League before, and there was one community that we went to, which was Raton, and they really got their local businesses involved to where they gave coupons to the kids and the family. They gave them like a bag, with discounts and, a cheaper rate for a movie. And there was some that even gave like a team meal, instead of, a regular meal, $10. If they brought their whole team, they got it for $7. And it really, of course, when you raise funds for Little League, you're going to go wherever it's cheaper, you know what I mean? So I don't know if that's part of you or what you do.
Well, actually, I'm glad you brought that up because we've been in the conversation with the businesses. That's something that we had mentioned is them offering these discounts during that weekend in their store or giving coupons so that they can come back and visit the stores again.
So what they gave was like a little bag that at that time it was in Raton, so the bag that had Raton, silver Raton. And inside those little bags, each player got one, which was 300 and some players. And as a parent and even as a coach, we went to those businesses that were supporting, and it helps out, because normally, you go to one place, but we could have here, we pay $7 for the meal for the team, so.
Yeah, they're really interested. We actually did that during Boo Fest this last year. And JC's Pizza gave away free slices of pizza. And so they're really working with us to try to give discounts and give coupons and maybe free pizza again. But yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Somebody, no, I'm just talking about the glare back there.
Did you close the, yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Ms.
Thank you,
Lambert.
Virginia.
Great job.
The next person is Ms. Maria Gilberry, and she will be presenting the drinking water quality report to you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I think.
Can somebody please close the blinds back there? They're closed.
That's just the way train.
No.
Does that help? No?
The next one.
One at the end.
That one.
Thank you.
I know.
That one hit hard.
Blinded by the light here.
That's a song.
Yeah.
Is that? It didn't help? It didn't help?
A tad bit.
Didn't help.
A tad bit.
Well, I'm just hiding my eyes.
Good evening.
What happens is that the sun hits my eyes and then I can't see the,
Oh, the screen.
Look at
the stuff on the
window.
computer.
Oh, look at the light. The poltergeist.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilors, Madam Manager. Presenting to you today our 2017 Consumer Confidence Report. It is our annual report from the Utilities Water Division to inform the community of the quality of our water. It is a requirement from the EPA through the Safe Drinking Water Act. The template, the information, much of it is dictated by the EPA. We do need to explain certain basic information and some certain critical information, and also be able to provide some websites and some phone numbers for customers to call if they have any questions or concerns about their water. The short of this whole report is the City of Las Vegas's water is exceptional. We had 0 violations in our water. You will see by the way, this will be provided to every customer. It will be going out in a paper form to all of our, through all the bills. So everybody will get a paper form. We'll also be making the glossy form available here at City Hall and at Utilities. So everybody will be able to access this information. It is also going to be printed in the newspaper. I believe it's actually already been printed in the newspaper, and it will be on our website. So the city has exceptional water. We did test it as required, and there were 0 violations for any water quality issues or concerns. The report that you'll see, the chart that you'll see, is only a listing of any constituents that had a reading of any kind.
Could you try the next window?
Here, that one is good for that one. Perfect for me.
Yeah.
That's good for her.
Life is rough. Don't look at it.
My glasses can
Share.
only
You have
darken
to
so
share. So as you can see, if you can see, on page 5, that's the water quality table, and again, that's the listing of any constituents, any contaminants where we were able to get any kind of reading. And as you can see, there is a listing there that shows what the maximum contaminant level should be, and all of our samples were well below maximum contaminant level requirements. Our water is good. We actually do have very good water coming down the river. One of the benefits of the city's water supply is that we are the first community on the river. So we get a lot of our water without being impacted by any of the human contaminants, the hairsprays, the chemicals, and there is a required, it's called the UCMR, it's required
sampling. Every 4 years, I believe, they add more to it. EPA adds more to it, and every year that the city's testing in that area, there are 0 violations because, again, our water is exceptional. We do not have the issues of hairsprays and pharmaceuticals and other chemical contaminants like that. The contaminants that we do have are, for all intents and purposes, natural. We do have, as you can see, we do have some chlorine, some barium, some fluoride, but all of those are well below any maximum contaminant. Stand for any questions?
Some of my constituents and I both got the report out in our bill.
Okay.
But I did have a couple of phone calls concerned about the carbon demand.
Yes, ma'am. I got it. Yes.
On the vegetable contaminants because they read where it says radioactive contaminants.
Yes.
And they said, does that mean we have radioactive stuff in our water? And I said, I think that's just a list of things that are tested for, but not what they found.
That is correct, and as you can see, these are natural. You do get radioactive. You can get radioactive contaminants in your water and in our water. And as you can see, there's the highest level detected column, and you also have the MCL column. So, for instance, the beta photo emitters were at 1.3, were the maximum contaminant level where we would be a concern for the poor. So we're again well below. In all of these, whether it's combined radium or the gross alpha or the uranium, we're all well below the maximum contaminant level. We do have to sample for them. As you can see, it was sampled in 2014. I believe that's on a 3 or 4 year schedule, so we'll probably be sampling for that. And the state actually assists us with that sampling. That's not something that our staff are actually qualified to sample for. We'll work with the state on that sampling.
I also got one person that called and asking why this was being sent out for 2017 when
Correct. So the requirement is this is the report for water from January of 17 through December of 17. After December, all of the sampling is compiled. It's compiled continuously, but then after 2017, after December of 2017, we review the compilation, the state reviews it, we confirm the numbers, and then we report last year's data. It's actually due by July 1st, and staff did an excellent job in getting it out well ahead of time.
And some of these collection dates say 2014.
The radioactive is not required as often as some of the other contaminants are required. To answer a question that hasn't been asked yet, lead and copper is required every 3 years, and we did it this year, no issues at all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good report. Thank you very much. Very informative. Sometimes it eases some of the concerns. I don't have a question in regards to the report, but I do have a question on, do you have any updates on water restrictions?
Counselor, very good question. Currently, with the quantity of water the city has, we are in stage 0 still. We do not have any water restrictions. We actually do need to work towards using the water that we have in Story to get it down towards the 800 acre-foot level that we're going to be permitted to, that we'll have purchased in Story. So we do not have any restrictions at this time. The last time I did a calculation, which I believe was last month, we had 600 days of water available between what was coming down the river as well as what was in storage. And we still have over 2 CFS coming down the river, and the city uses about 1.2 of that, 1.2 to 1.5 every day. So
great.
We do have plenty of water right now. Not enough to fill up swimming pools, but with the needs of the community, we are in a good place right now, especially with the water we have in Story.
Right. And the fireworks, I heard we had a question on fireworks.
We do. We are looking at the fireworks display. If the weather is still dry and unable to, then we can pull out of the contract. That we specifically wrote into the contract that we could pull out at a certain time, and so that's how we're proceeding. We are intending to, and hopefully we get some rain But if we don't, and it is too dry, then we pull out of the contract, and that was written in the contract.
And the sale of fireworks?
The sale of fireworks, let me defer that over to the chief. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, Council, Ms. Manager. As far as the sale of fireworks, I spoke with the State Fire Marshal's office, and they are allowing the sale of them. So us as a governing, or you guys as a governing body, if you decide to ban the sale, that would be something that we could consider, but they strongly advised against it. Because of the monetary effects that go along with it. He said in his past, when the municipality tried to do that, it didn't work out too good for them.
What is your recommendation?
My recommendation, as long as we have the ordinance in place as far as nothing above 10 feet, no aerials, and we enforce the code, we should do it. Pavement, the code specifies that it has to be on pavement, no grass areas, you have to have a water source, and it has to be an adult that lives. So I think if we go by those codes, we should be okay.
And the fire hydrants are pretty much in good conditions and have water to...
I believe so, and the water department tests them on a regular basis.
Yes, Council, we do go through our hydrants on a regular basis to make sure they're operational.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I have just a couple of things that I wanted to update you on. I know that there was a question on King Street and who was doing the funding, and so I'm passing around a handout where it does identify Department of Transportation as the funding agency, and so they will proceed with the funding for King Street. That'll identify the map for that one project. And I hope that answers questions about the King Street funding. None of it has come to the state, to the city at all. And so we are just going to facilitate and assist the Department of Transportation if they're in need of anything from the city. We also, questions were asked about the State Little League Championships being here in Las Vegas. And so we're going to make sure that we do contact the lodgers and try to make accommodations as best as we can. And so we'll be doing that as well with Virginia and her team. The watering of trees is occurring. It is occurring every twice a week. And so the public facilities and the parks are doing that on a weekly basis. The Senior Center had submitted a capital outlay application, and we're funded actually for $59,000 in needed equipment. And so that is coming in, and that'll be within our budget in July of 2018. Lodgers Tax Advisory Board will be submitting their budget recommendations, and we're going to invite them on Thursday to come in and talk a little bit about their funding and how they would like their funding allocated. And Virginia and I have sat down and met together and tried to come up with a number, because we're going to have that increase in that 1%. So we're going to see how we do and what we do with it. But the Lodgers Tax Advisory Board will be coming back to you and presenting their budget as well. Let's see. The police department is still continuing with their funding for the shooting range, and we're going to be setting aside monies for that. The community development and public facilities have submitted the second part of the CDBG grant, and we've been invited to submit our application. That application is due on June the 22nd, and it's for approximately $750,000, and so that is good for us. That'll be the Hot Springs Boulevard, which is part of the ICIP plan. Interim budgets, as I said, we're working with the departments, and we'll be meeting with the departments prior to them coming in and meeting with mayor and council as well. There was a question on the GRT allocations, and so I went ahead and made copies for you on the GRT allocations, and just how much money the city gets, or how much of a percentage. Our total percentage for GRT right at this currently is 8.3958, And so I've just gone ahead and listed all of the ordinances and the effective dates in case we had any questions as well. One big thing that we have is that New Mexico Highlands University will no longer be broadcasting through Comcast. As a matter of fact, this is the last meeting that they'll be broadcasting, so we need to find another avenue. And according to Kenny, we have a meeting set up for May 23rd to speak to them to see if whether we bring the equipment over here and we broadcast from here, or if even that's possible. But we have a couple of options, so we may not. I'm thinking we may not be ready for June. Hopefully we are, but we'll see just what method or what option we have as far as the broadcasting. I believe that this is the last meeting. Correct? That is all I have, Madam Mayor, members of the commission. Yes.
Councilor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ms. Gallegos, I believe I asked a question about the DBIB dollars that are available.
Yes.
Do you have the figure that we have for that
No, but
area?
I'll defer that to the finance director.
468,000.
I'm sorry?
468,000.
Okay, that's there to use,
That has been set aside.
that's set aside to use for,
The DBIB Industrial Park.
okay.
Yes, sir.
And has there been any requests on how to use that?
There has been, we have an engineer out there. We do have an engineer that is working on part of the drainage plan for DBIB. And so once that comes in, then we will see what needs to get done and either do an RFP or put the project out to bid for what needs to get done. But we'll bring that back to Mayor Council as well. Okay.
Good. Thank you.
Mr. Romero?
Yes, I had a question pertaining to this on the Grant Street.
Yes. Yes.
And
this is.
I asked questions of those that I know at the DOT, and they had mentioned that in order for I don't know the acronym, but it's the New Mexico Local Roads Grant. I don't know if I have it exactly right. But
That could be the co-op grant, or
Yeah.
I believe it's probably the co-op grant, Mr.
So
Romero?
that's the only way that they would get involved if we apply, for those
Yes.
grant dollars.
And we do apply on an annual basis. And so if they come in through the co-op grant, then of course we'll put in a match, but the majority of the money comes in from DOT.
Yeah, and when we
Yes,
did
sir.
that with the schools and we did the parking
Yes, sir.
lots and stuff like that, but, so that's the money that's gonna be used for this
I
project?
believe so, yes, sir.
So who's planning it? Because, I know my experience with the schools, it was our projects
The
manager
engineers,
that did all
yes.
that, and we did that, but all they did was pretty much fund the money. So who's doing the planning on this?
The planning would be from DOT. According to this article, it's a planning that, and I'll find out a little bit more because it is the local government road fund program. Yeah, that's what it is. I think it says it right here. And so, but it's primarily funded by the New Mexico Department of Transportation. Once it gets funded, then we'll start to meet with DOT and just see how the engineering gets done, who does the engineering, and then who proceeds with the project.
Just my experience, I know that we did all that. All they did was, we had the match, they gave so much percent.
Yes, sir.
But all the planning and then the work was done by, well, not by the city itself.
No, but not
we
by,
had to contract
but they're
it.
engineers. Yes, sir. But we'll bring that back to, back to Mayor and Council and let you know just how much it was funded for.
What's typical, the grant that the city receives? I know the schools won maybe 30,000, but I don't know.
Well, we get quite a bit. I know we're getting some money for Mountain View, and that's in the neighborhood of 500,000 to 600,000. So, some of those projects, depending on the area that is going to be worked on. I know DOT is really good about trying to get plans and trying to get an assessment of the whole project, so that we can finish the project instead of just piecemealing it. And so, but we'll keep you posted on it.
And is there multi grants to the city? I know the schools we only had one, so is there multi in 1 year or just the one?
There is multi-grants sometimes. Sometimes they'll come in with the co-op projects, and then there's other paving projects that come in as well. Like, and we're going to have, right now, we're going to start they're going to start working on South Grand Avenue. That's another project that, although we're not involved in it, will assist DOT with that as well, with anything that they need as far as any engineering costs or anything that the city can do that we wouldn't, that we don't want to leave out any part of the project. We want to be able to work in partnership with them.
When was that project started?
I understood that it was, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. I understand that it may be bid out pretty quickly, and the startup date is very close to either August or September. I'm sorry.
In talking with them, I believe here within the next few days, they were actually going to find out who the contractor was. And this is
And usually the process has been that they get the co-op funds, and from them we do our match, and then they coordinate with the city and all the entities involved. But usually our individuals here at this level, Public Works, are involved in the process, yes, to ensure that everybody's getting the project needs. And we have our architects and we have our engineers ready and on board on contract. And so all we need to do is contact them and we'll get started on any of the projects. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. The next item is the finance report by Ms. Tana Vega.
Good evening, Madam Mayor.
How are you?
I'd like to present the revenue and expenditure reports for the month ended April 30th, 2018. 83% of year has lapsed. Revenues for the general fund collected on the cash basis, $9,460,478. Revenues also issued on the cash basis, $8,784 and $8,784,451 for a cash increase of $676,000. Revenues for the enterprise fund, revenues collected, recorded on the accrual basis. Wastewater, $2,503,829. Natural gas, $4,257,747. Gas came up substantially during the last couple of months. Solid waste is at $2,884,454, and water at $4,197,497. Expenditures are recorded on a cash basis. Wastewater, $2,540,131. Natural gas, $3,944,940. Solid waste, $2,825,083. Water, $4,319,143. The recreation center also recorded on the cash basis for revenues and expenditures. Collected along with the general fund transfer, collected revenues of $497,955, and expenditures are at $476,145 for a net increase in cash of $21,810. Any questions?
Questions, comments?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda, Madam Mayor, members of the council, is the consent agenda items. And I will have City Clerk read them through.
Certainly, Senator. The consent agenda consists of the following items. Item number 1, approval to purchase a Caterpillar 420F2IT4E backhoe. Number 2, approval to publish ordinance number 18-03, amending ordinance number 18-01, entering into a loan agreement with the New Mexico Finance Authority. And item 3, approval to adopt the City of Las Vegas, New Mexico Metropolitan Redevelopment Plan, authorizing resolution number 1822, and approval of grant agreement and certificate of grant.
Okay, what is the pleasure for? Councilor Casey.
Madam Mayor, I move approval of the consent agenda items as read into the record.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
Councilor Howell?
Yes.
Councilor Casey?
Yes.
Councilor Olivari Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Casey, a second by Councilor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item is a business item, and it's to conduct a public hearing and approval, disapproval to adopt ordinance 18-04, amendment to the official zoning map for property, and we have Maria and Virginia. No? Yes? Good evening, ladies. How are you? Good evening. Thank you. Good to see you here. It's a public hearing, Madam Mayor? Okay, we need a motion to go into public hearing.
Madam Mayor,
Councilor Casey.
I move that we go into public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilor Olivari Jr.?
Yes.
Councilor Howell?
Yes.
Councilor Casey?
Yes.
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Casey, a second by Councilor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. At this point in time, we need swearing in of anyone who's going to provide any testimony this evening.
I believe there was, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name for the record. Maria Brea. Swear to tell the truth. Swear to tell the truth. During my testimony to council tonight. During my testimony to council tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, good evening, Mayor, Council.
Good evening.
And tonight, I am on behalf of the City of Las Vegas, who owns property at 2513 Hot Springs Boulevard, asking for a zone change approval or disapproval of zone change from a R1 single-family residential to a C3 general commercial zone for this property so that we can accommodate the farmers market at that location at the parking lot. And Board of Adjustments and Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval for this zone change.
Okay, thank you very much. Shall we start with testimony, or do you have anything to add, Ms. Martha? Okay, let's call it up. Those of you who are going to provide testimony, please come up.
There was more. Those of you that are going to provide testimony, if you'll all come up, please. Thank you.
Okay.
Would you state your name for
Yes.
the record?
Cordia Samet. Hello, councilors and Madam Mayor, and welcome to our new councilor. I am one of the managers, along with Diane Lindsay, of the Tier and Catawba Farmers Market, which is at Hot Springs and Mills. Today, I'm here to ask for your support of the proposed zoning change that has passed the Planning and Zoning Commission. This change will allow us to continue the market at our current location. The market has been open a year, and it has been a successful year at this location. This area of town has been classified, as you heard earlier, as a food desert, and we have wanted to make more local food available and also hopefully stimulate more economic growth in other areas there also. This will make fresh local food available to more people in the city of Las Vegas. And one of these statistics I found, I just couldn't believe it, 99% of the food that is sold in New Mexico State is imported food. It is not food locally produced. And I think that's something we really need to work to turn around for a lot of reasons, and one being food security. We are reaching a new customer base and have received feedback from our customers, many who have never known that a market existed before and are glad we are here, and they want to continue coming back and using the market, which is encouraging to us. Today's issues of food security and healthy food are really important. The additives to our food so it can be trucked several miles is adding to the health issues, and we need fresh food for people. Another goal is to stimulate more farms and more gardens in the area, in Las Vegas and in the surrounding counties, and bring more young farmers. If you come to the market, you'll find many of our farmers are not young farmers, and we need to be encouraging them to get into farming for us. And the knowledge the farmers have, the ones that have been doing it here for so long, is really important to preserve and pass down to our youth. So we will also be continuing our free workshops that we do at the market, where we exchange information with people who come, who want to learn about gardening and farming. Agriculture has long been an important part of Las Vegas history, and we need to keep it going. And I think this market will allow this to happen, in addition to the other market, which we really want to work in cooperation with. And we found people like to make a market day. And in my printout that I give on the Facebook, I always encourage people to go to both markets and make a day of it. And if you can't find it at one, then go to the other one. It just opens up the possibilities. So I hope you will consider passing this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Miller.
Thank you. Next.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I speak today on a couple of procedural issues that I have with this. I do support 100% the continued permitting of the farmers market on Hot Springs, and I think that it's, for all the reasons that have been stated, a real contribution to the community. My concern is that this is city-owned property, and if the city does not hold itself to the same standards that it holds other property owners to in rezoning, adopting an ordinance to amend the official zoning map, creates a slippery slope whereby a comprehensive plan for what different neighborhoods are supposed to look like is no longer really relevant and being followed. And I also want to call the governing body's attention to the legal standard for an amendment, which is contained in 450-98, and that is that public necessity, convenience, or general welfare require it. And one of the things that you'll notice in your packet that accompanying this application, it's mentioned that a special use permit is also being applied for, I guess, by Tierra Encantada. And in my opinion, this special use permit is not only the more appropriate way for the city to permit this activity, it's also the best way for the farmers market organization as well as the neighbors to enforce that it will in fact be used for a farmers market. Because once it is rezoned, there are other interesting things that's in your packet is a letter of intent from the city. Now, intention is great, but it's not binding. And once it is rezoned, the city, this administration, the next administration, can turn around and sell it to McDonald's, a car wash, a payday loan place. And because it is now commercial, it has wide ranges of things that can be used. And many of those would take the residents, the surrounding neighbors, by surprise and would not be what they thought that they were getting for a farmer's market, which again can and should continue to be permitted under the special use permit, which is temporary, and the community can hold the governing body's feet to the fire, make sure that it happens and continues on an annual basis. As soon as it's commercial, that permits all kinds of different uses, and you cannot bind a landowner nor a subsequent purchaser to the intention when it was originally rezoned. What is missing in the application attachments is the site development plan. The reason, and again, we want to be able to hold other landowners to the process in place in ordinance, and that is 450-101. Every application for an amendment shall include a site development plan. And that is so that in this case, a rezoning as commercial would make this a non-conforming use on a non-conforming site. Commercial buildings, the business is required to be conducted inside an enclosed building in a commercial zone. That's 450-126. Here we're looking to permit a special use outside of that. Again, 450-33 requires a certain amount of off-street parking that would be shown in the site development plan. Also, commercial uses that abut residential areas are supposed to have landscaping and fencing. Again, that would be something that you would see in a site development plan if that was properly submitted with this application. And so, I'm concerned about a double standard that might eventually allow a developer to buy 16 acres of agricultural with an intention to open a rehab clinic or something, but without the binding site development plan that then is enforced and shows how the various inspections are done, what sorts of inspections are required, and the building permitting that says that's actually what's going up on that site. What you're doing is something called speculative rezoning or spot rezoning, and most municipalities, their planning and zoning code is created to prevent that. Again, I strongly support the farmers market. I think a special use permit, which is acknowledged as happening alongside this, is all that is required. Again, public necessity, convenience for the general welfare.
Special use permits for what they're planning on doing are not allowed in the R1 residential zone. They don't allow for flea markets, farmers markets, special use. That's why we're doing the rezone.
I have a question. On the issue of the site development plan.
We provided the plat showing the parking lot, okay? And we didn't provide a site plan because we don't know exactly how many farmers are going to be setting up. That will be provided when we do the special event permit also.
Okay.
And that's part of the, because they do provide a site plan of how the farmers are going to set up. They will provide a parking plan, and they've been making arrangements with the neighbors across the street to use their parking, so they don't use the residential parking. They're also in contact with the neighbor to the north, which is that empty gas station, so that they can have parking there like they did last year. And that was a recommendation from the Board of Adjustment, that they contact and make appropriate, because we don't know how many people are actually going to be there at the farmers market like last year. And I know there was a hardship last year. But when they allowed that special event permit to be on that property last year in an R1 zone, flea markets, farmers market are not allowed in residential zones. And that's according to the ordinance. That's why we did this recommendation to do the zone change. Okay. And the special use permit is specifically for the farmers market, and that for now.
Okay. Now, the other issue that was raised was the issue of the commercial property. All the area there is commercial, pretty much.
Actually, to the north side, everything is commercial. And right across Comcast, all those are commercial. Everything to the north is, so they are in a commercial zone.
Okay.
So it's, I mean, the south is residential, but they are abutting between where this property is going to be used and the neighbors across the street and whatever. There is a building. It's not usable right now, but there is a building. There is a buffer area right there.
Okay, thank you. Good job. Okay, let's continue.
Next.
So I'm Diane Lindsay, and I just want you to consider how important this is and ask for rezoning if that's outright, and especially as a connected farmers market. I'm available for questions.
Okay.
I'm Lucy Trujillo, and I'm also asking you, the council, if you would help us rezone this area. Going for a really good.
I live in the west side, and I've talked to a lot of people there that walk to the farmers market, and it's easier for them to go there. They don't have, some of them don't have cars, so they just walk there and get their vegetables. And it's good stuff. It's nutritious. We need it. It's better for the children. I take a lot of that, buy a lot of that, take it home, cook it for my family. So it's important to have something on that side. We don't have anything, and that's really has been a great thing on that side, on the west side. Thank you.
Can you give us your name, please?
Clara Lucero.
Clara Lucero. Okay, thank you very much. At this point in time, I need a motion. Are we done with testimony?
Madam Mayor.
Are we done with testimony?
If there's no testimony and we have questions, would that be done now?
Okay, so at this point in time, we need a motion to adopt the records proper and close the public hearing.
Madam Mayor, I move that we close the public hearing and adopt the record proper.
With amendments, I want to include Ms. Pereira's statement. Well, that was very critical. Okay, thank you very much. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Ulibarri Jr. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
I need a motion to reconvene into regular session.
Madam Mayor?
That's Christie.
I move that we reconvene into regular session.
Do I have a second? Roll call.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Romero. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
What is
Motion
the
carries.
pleasure of the board at this point in time? I'll
I
open it
have
up.
questions, and I think
Yeah, I was going to open it up to Counselor Romero.
I had a question on Exhibit 4. I guess this property belonged at one time to the Housing Authority.
The Housing Authority purchased it because they were going to do some kind of a veterans home there on the buildings, but the building was really dilapidated. They even demolished some of the things. And then I'm not sure what happened, and the city itself purchased it from the housing department.
So they purchased, they bought it outright from them.
I believe so, right? You guys transferred some money for that?
Yes.
And so now it actually belongs to the city, not the housing authority.
Okay, and we're Tierra Encantada using the building.
No, they're not using the building,
Okay.
Just the property.
just the parking lot.
Okay. And the reason why I asked this question is when we had the issues with the selling of the homes that belong to housing.
Yeah, because of the.
We're not running into that problem here?
We
weren't allowed, housing was not allowed to buy the building, so that's why the city ended up having to purchase the building.
And in those cases, those were homes that were built under certain clauses that were
Right.
not complied with. So that was the violation.
Okay, and I just wanted to make sure that we're not going into that.
No.
The other question, I think I asked you, Madam Mayor, there's been confusion, and I think since we're here, now's the proper time to ask this, is Tierra Encantada a nonprofit, or what type of organization in order, we're going to You know, we've done, during my election, you know, they asked the questions, the improved property improvements, you know, if it's a business or is it nonprofit, and I think now it's, you know.
It's a nonprofit.
Through what?
It's not a 501c3, but it is through the state where they can still apply for grants.
Because I did look up the 501 and I didn't find it on there.
No, it's not a 501c3.
So,
It is a nonprofit.
It is a nonprofit,
It's a nonprofit.
yes, and it is through the state because of the fact that it is not a 501c3. So in that case, they can still apply for grants, but it's certain types of grants, which is going to be more specific to.
does the city have that document on record? Or do we have that just?
Yeah.
But that's part of, I think that's going to be part of the special event permit that we have them sign with the insurance and everything else that they're required, like they do for fiestas and all that stuff. We also do one of those for them. And that's, I believe, one of the requirements that we're going to be making sure that they include in all that stuff. And that's going to become part of that packet for this one too.
Thank you. I also have a question on the quitclaim deed. The first line says, the City of Las Vegas Housing Authority for consideration paid grants the City of Las Vegas, blah, blah, blah. I would like to know what was the amount that was paid?
Insurance?
That I would not.
Yeah.
I don't have all that information with me.
It's exhibit number 3.
150 cents.
I'll
I'll let the finance director answer that.
When a special audit was prepared and HUD determined that the purchase violated HUD requirements, the city bought it from HUD and we paid the housing funds $156,000 for the property and the building.
And when did this happen, do you recall?
Pardon?
When did this occur?
2014.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. I was wondering because the quitclaim deed is dated September 20th, 2017, and that never came before the council. So I was wondering why.
We have a warranty deed that's dated July 2004.
That's when it was
And that was when it was purchased by the Housing Authority.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the quitclaim deed.
She's looking at the quitclaim deed.
Exhibit 3.
That was finally recorded in 2017
Yes,
because
So it was purchased in 2014 and not recorded for 3 years later?
that was found by somebody that was working on all that it had never been recorded. So Lorraine Ortiz took care of getting all that recorded after.
After the fact?
Yeah, because we were,
Okay, that was my biggest concern there because I
Right.
didn't remember anything like that, and that's a lot of money.
And I don't remember that as well. I would have remembered it, and I don't ever
and
remember
I
that.
don't
but-
recall, I just remember that they found it, we did it, and we got it recorded in Lorraine Ortiz. She was a paralegal through City Attorney's Office at that time. She got that, or somebody got it recorded. Yeah.
Thank you.
Counselor Howard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ms. Gallegos, Ms. Maria, and Ms. Maru. Okay. Does the Board of Adjustments, or did the Board of Adjustments have any concerns about what Ms. Laszlo Henley had brought up to us?
The only concern they had, and was the parking. And they recommended that they talk to some of the vacant neighboring property owners that have for parking for the area. Because there's really not that much well, there is parking along the road, about a couple of blocks down. And just to make sure that they don't park in anybody's driveway. So that's why they've been talking to Mr. Matt Martinez across the street for that vacant property right next to cable, the Comcast cable, and Ms. Romero for that property next door. for that old gas station, because it's got like 5, 6 pieces, you know. And they're only there on Wednesday mornings and Saturday mornings, so, you know, it's not like they're there every day.
So what's the concern of allowing them to operate with a special permit?
As you stated before, that if it's a residential area, it doesn't allow the farmers markets and other markets of that sort. So the only way to do it is to rezone it so that then we can allow them to maintain the property.
So we've been using, they've been on that property for how long?
Just a year.
A year, a full year.
They were there last summer, and that was done by...
Essentially, just not even the year, it was the summer.
It was just the summer. They're only doing it during the summer months.
So, okay, what is the, do we have an ordinance on spot zoning?
Yes, we do, I believe.
And what does
But,
it state?
Right offhand, I don't know.
There is an ordinance on spot zoning. I used to serve on P&Z, but one of the problematic situations with spot zoning is that has occurred historically throughout the entire city.
I
So
mean,
a lot
that's
of
been
properties
done-
have been grandfathered in, as you're well aware, Maria, you've been there for a very long time.
20 years now, almost.
Is
And
that-
this one is, I'm not sure if it would be considered spot zoning because, I mean, it is zoning this specific property, but if you look at the map behind the thing, the rest, the north part, the gas station, Comcast cable, Napa, the buildings across the street are all commercial. And they're all either commercial, general commercial, neighborhood commercial, or what's the C1? I can't remember what the C1 is right offhand. But they're all commercial so it's kind of like we're just adding another commercial to what's already commercial to the north. And if you see Henry's, that's commercial. So it's kind of like, you could say spot zoning, but it's adjacent to what's commercial right
And
now.
then you have Noeda's business, yeah?
Henry's Shoe Shop is commercial, you know, so it's like,
May I ask Ms. Gallegos a question?
Absolutely.
Ms. Gallegos, do you feel that we should table this until the Board of Adjustments gets this information and then makes another ruling? Because I don't know if the Board of Adjustments even heard Ms. Laszlo Henry's comments.
I guess I would defer that response over to Maria, since I believe have they gone before the...
they already went on April 30th. They went before the planning, this went before the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Yes. So,
The only other concern with that too is that if we table, we continue to table one, that we're not going to have that farmer's market available and running for the west side, because again, that's going to be another.
Well, we
month or
could
so.
still continue with the special permit use.
No, because.
Because we've been doing it for a whole year.
Yeah, but we're trying to make that adjustment to correct it right now, and so in order to do that, we will have to do the
Council
rezoning in order to provide.
They did provide and announce the public hearing process. At that point in time, anyone that provided testimony here could have also provided the testimony at that point in time. It was clearly advertised.
I mean, I support the farmer's market. Please don't get me wrong. I just want to protect the standards of our, ordinances.
But the Board of Adjustments did review this, and as did the Planning and Zoning.
The Planning and Zoning
So it's a
Commission is the
process.
one
It's
that
gone
made the
through that
recommendation to bring it over here to approve the zone change. The Board of Adjustments approved the special use permit, and that's only approved if the zone change is approved. So if the zone change isn't approved or tabled, that's just another month that we go.
So what would happen if, as Ms. Laszlo Henry had stated, in the future ordinance changes or zone changes? Are we going to hold the standards to the other folks also?
Well, we would have to approach that as it comes in the future, because as right now, it would be, it's going to be for that specific purpose. If that comes up in the future, we would have to approach that situation when it does.
every zone change has its own specific criteria that we meet, you know what I mean?
And the criteria has been met, correct?
I believe so.
Exactly.
Even with the special event permit, which I've been working with them on, we made sure
Because
that
we've got all
the
of,
insurances and everything
So
that
we'll-
is required.
So we're going to set a precedent in regards to zone changing.
No, you need to explain, I'm sorry, Counselor Howell. I served on PNC.
I'm just trying to get
No, I
clarification.
understand.
I don't
While
want
I served on
us to
PNC,
be in the future
one of the
in the wrong.
questions that was asked, and we had to go for training on this, we had attorneys actually present during PNC meetings. It goes through the process of the design review board if necessary, the board of adjustments, and it comes to the PNC commission. At that point in time, they determined, one, we would review and weigh all the evidence before us. It is historically proven that we have had spot zoning, that we have had a lot of properties grandfathered in. This is nothing new to the city of Las Vegas at all. And what they are proposing here today, there's nothing that is illegal. They have gone through the actual processes, and I don't believe that anything was violated. I have seen this through PNZ while I served there for about 4 to 5 years, and there was a lot of discussion about the spot zoning. But if you go historically through the entire map of the city of Las Vegas, you are going to see that there's spot zoning everywhere. You're going to see that a lot of properties which do not even meet what the 9-10 foot variances in properties are at a 1 foot variance or immediately on the actual property line. So if we start setting this precedence now, then I think that we might have to go back and revisit a lot of the other properties that have been.
20, 30 years.
Exactly.
Doesn't it state in the package that you gave us that the use can be changed?
What do you mean?
I believe Ms. Laszlo Henry also stated that if the farmer's market stopped, it could be used for any
Yes,
commercial use.
it could be, but they would have to come before our Board of Adjustments for a special use permit for whatever they need to be doing.
And the expert, Councilor Howell, is right here before you.
Well, I understand. I'm just
Because
trying to get
this
clarification.
special use permit is specific for the farmer's market. Anybody else wants to use that parking lot, like on Mondays or Tuesdays, they would have to come in through the Board of Adjustments for a special use permit and file an application like anybody else.
So other businesses can use it other than Wednesdays?
Wednesdays and Saturdays.
Wednesdays and Saturdays.
But they'd have to come before our Board of Adjustments for through the proper channels for
Okay, so
the use.
are there any restrictions for what type of business can be on that property? I'm sorry, but I just need to get clarification on this, because
Actually, I have in front of me the 45126, and the purpose for the zone is intended to provide for those retail businesses and services which require a location other than the central business district, being either highway oriented or requiring larger tracts of land not normally available in the central business district. Permitted uses in the C3 district, any use permitted in the C1, auction houses, eating and drinking places, including bars, drive-in restaurants, and cocktail lounges, entertainment, but not within 75 feet in any R district, which includes billiard parlors and pool halls, dance halls, drive-in theaters, games, and electronic and pinball, nightclubs, recreation activities, baseball fields, swimming pools, skating rinks, other open-air facilities, hotels and motels, institutions, nursing homes or rest homes, private clubs. Mobile home parks are allowed in a C3 district, but they have to have over an acre or 2 acres to be able to, and those have to have certain things, okay?
So, Maria, any other type of business would want to put a building on that property?
More than likely.
Right, so they won't be able to because we gave the rights to the farmer's market on Wednesdays and Saturdays to operate there.
And just on the parking lot, because there is a
Right.
building on the property.
Right, and this
It used to be.
zone change does not include the building,
It includes the whole property.
the whole property, okay?
And I don't know, but the building is not very It's not, on the outside, it's really nice, but the
Right.
inside's really bad, because it used to be an old church.
There's no flooring or anything?
No flooring, no, nothing. Some of the walls are falling down, and I don't know if it leaks or not.
Okay, no. All right,
Let's continue.
all right, thank you. I just,
Counselor, are you ready? Okay, what is, Counselor Romero, you have a question?
Could you explain the events permit process?
Special events permit?
Well, that's what they're going through
Yes,
right after, right?
so the process of the special events is that they do have to put in an application, and what they have to do is go through each department and explain to them the uses. For example, if they let the police department know so that they know that they're there in case something happens, everybody's aware. That goes for public works, for PD, community development, all the departments, they go through and have to get the signature signed off, letting them know what's there. And then that way, at that time, if any of those departments have concerns, they can be addressed and brought back to us.
So the concern that I brought up, and I don't know if this is a question to the attorney, is to make sure that, they have the proper, non-profit form.
Yeah,
that-
that's
that- Sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, that's something that's included in the special event permit, so they also include that, plus they include their insurance and any other supporting documents.
And that's what I was going to ask, the liability of somebody in an accident.
And
does that fall?
doesn't the insurance have to include the city as a
Yes.
second?
Insurance does include the city as a second person on it, and it does have to be up to a certain amount, so that way if anything does happen, it's covered.
So you're going on the record of saying that my concerns will be addressed in that events permit, that nonprofit.
Yes, and then they also become part of the record that goes in.
The record file. Counselor Kise.
Just for my personal clarification, the zone change is necessary so that the special use permit can be
Applied.
applied.
Because this falls, the farmer's market kind of falls into the flea market type thing.
Right.
And
So my understanding was that without the zone change, ordinance prevents the farmer's.
we would not
market
have been
from
able
being
to
there.
allow the farmer's market to be there another year.
Right.
Because it was done illegally last year.
That's what I wanted clarification on, so that I think that is the simplest way to explain why this is being done. So, thank
Makes
you.
sense.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, thank you very much. No further questions? What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair,
Counselor Kise.
I move that we approve the adoption of ordinance 18-04 to amend the official zoning map for the property listed in lots 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 of Block 2, Miguel Romero Ivaca, addition known as 2513 Hot Springs Boulevard, as approved by the City Planning and Zoning Commission.
Roll call.
Counselor Howell?
I got my questions answered and clarified, so my vote is yes.
Counselor Uvadi Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Romero. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies, for the incredible work that you put into the financing along with this. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for
Thank you.
this.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item on the agenda is Councilor's Report. Madam Mayor?
Okay, Counselor's report. Counselor.
Okay, first off,
I'm sorry.
thank you, Madam Manager. There's a couple things that I addressed to you, and I appreciate the timely response and getting the attention.
Somebody was supposed to pick you up today, did they?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
It wasn't me.
Was it for lunch or dinner?
I wish it would have been for lunch, huh? That would have been
But I
good.
appreciate that. Just a couple of things that I think I brought it up to your attention yesterday was the rec center, some of the equipment, I haven't, I know it was yesterday, so I don't know if you have an update.
I did get an update, Counselor Romero. Everything is ready, and we're just, we had purchased some other materials from the company, and they were waiting for their payment, and then they were going to go ahead and bring in the cabling that was needed for that piece of equipment. So it should be in fairly quickly.
There was a couple other things that, as I took a tour yesterday, was the water fountain.
Okay.
One of them has just lets out hot water, and as it gets hot in there,
okay,
doesn't have cold water. So.
Sure. I can address that.
The other thing was one of the bikes. They put it in storage. They haven't repaired it, so they must look into that one.
I will.
And the last thing, and I don't know if maybe I can meet with you, individually there's an issue at West Las Vegas, with trash trucks, an issue there.
Mijo School?
Yes.
That is an issue, Counselor Romero and I would definitely advise that you sit down with Ms. Gallegos, because there was a lot of things that should have happened.
Okay, so I'll meet with her on that.
I'd love to speak to you, and I'll give you a call and give you an update on it, and let you know what has developed from there. I don't know if anyone else is interested, but
I am, because I did have a school board member call me about that.
and she'd have to meet with you both together or two at a time. I will arrange something.
Okay,
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Oh,
I'm done.
Council, please.
thank you. Today, I was at a different meeting this afternoon, and in the conversation, we were talking about distribution of books to different places within the community, and the rec center came up for the summer youth. And several of the people who were at the meeting were concerned that if we gave books to the children that were participating in our summer rec program, would not even take the books or an opportunity to use them, because things are so much in disarray during the summer rec program. And they were concerned and wanted to know, and they asked me, they said, oh, we have a counselor here, and I'm like, oh, great. And they said, we want to know what kind of training do the people who work with the younger kids, do they get any kind of training? Or who supervises what's going on? Because a lot of times, and two of the women had been in there to kind of look around and see what kind of, what we could do to distribute books to the students, where we might put them or whatever. And they were very concerned because they didn't, they were not, they were expecting like organized games and things like that, and those things don't happen.
And you know what, we do have three instructors actually that come in. There's 3 teachers that we hire on a 6-week, I think it's 6 to 7 week basis. And then we'll only take 17-year-olds to work with the different age groups. And so those people, they come in a week before, and they are given some training. I don't know what specific training they're given, but they do work with the instructors. As I said, they have 3 instructors that come in from, I believe it's East Las Vegas and West Las Vegas schools that come in for the summer to help us run that program. But let me look a little bit further into it. I think books are, that's a great thing for students, and so how we can distribute and how they can take them home is just another, an issue that maybe we just need to work a little bit further with. And so I'll be glad to.
Okay. Last year, instead of bringing the books to the rec center, we had the kids come to Sala de Madrid at Highlands to participate in a day of activities, and we gave everybody books. And I was there for the 2 days that we did it. And I'm sorry to say that the kids that came from the rec center were the worst behaved in the whole group. And I felt bad because the kids that were supervising the other kids just kind of hung around and didn't know what to do. And I would have to tell them, would you kind of watch this trip right here and don't let them be throwing airplanes at people that are walking in and that kind of stuff. And so that's why we thought maybe it would be a better idea if we took the books to the rec center and had, the employees that are working there, distribute the books for us rather than bring them to a public venue where they were just kind of running amok.
I mean, you know what, and maybe we just need a little bit more stricter rules perhaps for especially when they go out to the community, because we certainly don't want to portray a bad impression on anyone. And so let me speak to the managers there and let her know what these concerns are. And we can certainly work with the summer youth. We need to. And but I'm a little bit concerned about the issues, and so I'd like to get a little bit more further research on it and bring it back to you. As a matter of fact, I'll call you and see what we come up with, what solutions we can come up with.
Okay, the other thing, I have two more items. One is I want to thank Anne Marie also, because every time that I've called her, she has responded, and if she says is going to do something, she does it, and I appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
And some of my constituents are very difficult.
We know who they are. We know who they are.
We know who they are. And so
we're still going to be nice.
I appreciate your patience in working with them. And my last item is I have a question for our attorney. And please, Madam Mayor, don't get upset about this, but since we have not complied with either the statutory guidelines or the charter in terms of having a reorganizational meeting by the deadline, is all the action that we have taken tonight, including housing and the voting that we took tonight, is that valid?
Well, may I answer that? And then you can.
Yes, ma'am.
I actually spoke to municipal attorney, Mr. Copeland. Copeland? Okay, he is the one that advised, because I asked about the impacts or implications of us not holding it by the deadline, and he said there was nothing that was feasible about that, or that there was no implications, negative implications towards not holding it in the town. It would have just been good if we had.
So there aren't any statutory penalties?
No.
Okay.
None of that.
And so my concern was not so much about penalties, but about the action that we take if we're not duly constituted, or whatever it's called legally, that, are we doing everything for naught?
No, everything is on the agenda, and any action that we take is still consistent with the charter. Okay. That was the response. But if you wanted to add something to it.
Only that I don't know that it allows for people to challenge the resolutions or the votes, but I could follow it up with the municipal attorney, municipal league attorney. But I don't have an answer for you. Just
and I realize that, because it's just tossed at you. But I would appreciate you looking into that very much.
Is that the consensus of the board?
Madam Mayor? I think if you do, and I've always said this before, and I mentioned this yesterday, I think, documentation, just in case anybody does challenge, at least we have a backing.
And we just need a full consensus. So that's it.
Full consensus for
direction to the attorney.
Of course.
Okay.
Great.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you
very much. Councilor Hall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have approximately 3 items. In regards to some of the comments that were made in public input, in regards to the grocery stores not being there, and more on the east side than on the west side. I think I've always, in fact, when Mr. Trujillo was here, I asked him that we should establish an ambassadorship program. An ambassadorship program is a program where we would sanction a committee, such as having an attorney, having a finance expert, having a real estate person, and having a person that is socially apt to speak and really convince people to our side. That committee or that commission can go out and talk to businesses that they think that might be interested in coming to Vegas. I mean, we as a city has to do something like that. I think that if we have local experts in those areas that I mentioned, I think that would be a good idea for them to do some research, get out there and start talking to people. And we have a lot of community members on the west side and east side that can give input on who to go out and attract. I think that, we need to work with the finance director and the city manager and the council, but to really give them the information that they need to go out and solicit. That's what I think we need to do. That's a solution that can help either the west side for grocery stores or whatever. So, my second point, I've been talking with the Samaritan House, and the Samaritan House still has a dilemma with the property they're in. And one suggestion that was made to me, and I thought it was a good idea, and I think that idea is also was implemented in Santa Fe, in that Santa Fe bought a building, I think it was a pet store building, and they bought it and then switched it to a shelter over there, and the shelter is being used tremendously at that place. And they looked into the what's that anti-donation laws and things like that, and they were able to do it because they didn't have any problems with that issue. I think we need to take a look at that and purchase the property that the Samaritan House is in, and allow them to lease it back, or we can lease it back to them, and for them to really start renovating that place, because they have grant monies and things like that they can apply for to renovate that building, especially the roof area. And but they can't do it because it's not owned by them, and it's owned by a private owner. And I think the property and the building has already been appraised, and if we have to do our own appraisal, that's fine. But that process can be started. That's just a suggestion, and for us to really think about it and have a discussion on it. Okay.
Without going into too much detail, there's issues with the Samaritan House and where they're located at right now. And so we would probably need to look into it further and possibly look at another piece of property, because there is some issues that are happening at this point. And so I can get together with you and explain those to you. But there is some issues with the Samaritan House, and not during the summer as much as during the winter, and so they're not zoned properly. Am I correct, Chief? It's not zoned properly right now. He hasn't gone through the process, and then there's some other issues that we're still missing that we need to have him complete.
Yeah, I think the discussion really needs to happen with us here as a council, and I think also that it's our responsibility to help them, because they are contributing to one of our major needs in this community.
They're part of our community, yes, sir.
The hungry, all of that is that's their objective, to help.
Sir.
So we need to be part of that. We need to be partnering with them.
We do. We need to partner up with them, and we need to make sure that we're all in compliance with the needs of the community.
Right.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Councilor Hope, I'll let you finish, of course.
No, go ahead.
On that situation, I think that the rezoning is going to be an issue with the actual owner of the property, and he'd have to apply. So we're not certain if he's, and I don't want to speak too much on this until we have clarification on all the other issues, but we're not certain if he's going to want to move forward with the rezoning. But
Well,
But certainly we
we
can
can
help.
buy the
we
property
can try,
and
we can try.
then,
Well, see, we have an $80 million assets worth of property at this point in time, if I'm correct, we're pretty close to that. So I don't know if we purchase the property, then how that's going to affect the anti-donation clause as well. So, well, that's something that.
yeah, we need to discuss it.
Yeah,
Because
let Anne Marie and Billy sit down with you and explain that.
Yes, sir. I will be glad to.
Yeah, I think that would be a good item to have at a work session, so we can have a really.
Discussion. As a presentation, possibly, or discussion?
Well, there's some litigation.
Exactly.
There's
So
some
that's what we
litigation
do.
pending on that already, so.
Okay, well-
But we can work it out.
Okay.
We'll be glad to do that.
My third item, I'm the one that made the motion to have a special audit that we already went through. And the results of the audit was, there's some findings and also some recommendations. And I really don't want to have that results of the audit put on a shelf and not to be seen again. What I'm going to do is, tomorrow I'm going to visit the city clerk's office and fill out the form of an agenda request form to put an agenda item to have a discussion on what we're going to do with the recommendations that the special audit had given to us. And because I want to have a discussion. I mean, we haven't really had that discussion to really find out exactly what we're going to do. And I really think that it's important for the moving forward of this governing body to identify that. And
If you recall, Councilor Howell, and I'm not going to go into detail, those recommendations were actually discussed during the executive session of that audit. I don't know if you remember that.
But I don't see any results on or action on the implementation or lack of the recommendations.
Okay, we are looking at that as we speak. I know that Anne Marie has been looking at improvement planning for each department, but we have to also have some consideration for the fact that she's also working on, she's gone through 3 audits, and that's been quite a lot of work for the staff, in addition to the fact that she's working on the current budget. So,
Okay. And may I
that's
answer?
something that we could look at maybe in the next,
In the very near future?
We
I
can
think
do it
so.
after the fiesta is over, but I do want to make that request, the agenda request, to have that discussion, because we need that discussion.
well, I think not only do we need the discussion, and I've asked Ms. Gallegos for this, I think it's imperative that we get everything out on that audit, including the actual cost, to include the legal costs, the staffing costs, and everything else. It didn't cost just $30,000. It was quite substantial.
And if I may answer, some of the recommendations that we were able to implement pretty quickly, as a matter of fact, in the procurement process, we've implemented a process already.
But if
And
you
so
look
that
at the
is-
corrective action plan, it's
That's
already
right.
addressed in there as well.
Yeah. And so we've done a lot of, we've done some changes already in personnel and in human resource. That has taken place as well. Some staffing changes have taken place. Staffing changes have taken place in procurement. And maybe what I need to do is just, and bear with me, but possibly I need to do is just sit down and see, and let you see the changes that we've made, but yet there is still some implementation of ordinance and charters and personnel ordinance that have to be amended. Those
That
can't
is
be
a
amended
process.
from this area, this part. It has to go back to mayor and council. Those recommendations have to come, and it's not an easy task to bring those things.
I realize that.
Yeah, but we need to work
In
with you,
addition to
yes.
some of those recommendations,
Sure.
I believe have to go out for referendum, correct?
I believe so, especially the
But those type of things that, excuse
those
me
are the
for
things.
interrupting.
No, no, no,
But
that's fine.
those are the type of issues and concerns that we as a governing body needs to know and
Absolutely.
also needs to discuss.
Okay.
And it's important
Absolutely.
for us, and we discussed this at our retreat, we
Mhm.
need to really have a comprehensive discussion on items like this. I think it's very, very important.
What I would
So what-
suggest, Counselor Howell, that you do is why don't you sit down with Anne Marie? We'll figure out a timeline as to when we can get it on the agenda. I think, though, out of respect, that we need to work with you, Anne Marie, at this point in time, to complete the Lantana budget reviews as well as staff.
Okay, then I'll visit Ms. Gallegos tomorrow, and then I'll go.
Oh, my gosh.
What's
Wait a
that?
minute.
And then I'll go over to.
Wait.
Well, why don't
Give
you
me a couple
schedule
few days here.
Anne Marie, why don't you schedule an appointment? with
I
Counselor
will.
Howell?
I'll schedule
That's the
something
best
with you,
thing to do.
and we can go through the recommendations and then some of the changes that need to be made. But just give me a couple of days to
And
go
then
through the actual
after,
audit, and
we
then
can bring an entire report to the
and then,
council.
then I can outline it for you.
Okay, if you feel that the next council meeting is too soon, then that's not a problem with me. We can extend it to 2 months from now, as long as we have this discussion. And on the agenda request, I can put that date for, June, July, August.
And I think that that's something you and I can come up with, a date that is, that we can all agree on. And by that time, maybe we can go through some of those recommendations and outline what some of those recommendations are, should be, what we need to do.
Yeah, I want to do it with the governing body, not just me.
Of course.
It's very important that
No,
the
but
governing body.
date and a time.
Absolutely.
I think
We'll be
that's
doctor to
perfect.
that, yeah.
Okay, we need
So
to,
when I do go ahead and sign the agenda request, any counselors can go there and also sign it, because we need at least 3 counselors to have that.
but you're calling for a special meeting?
No, I'm calling for an agenda request.
Okay, well, if you've made the agenda request, and I think it's noted, that we can, at
No,
this point
no,
in time.
I don't want to go that route, Madam Mayor, because you specifically had mentioned that we have to have counselors, 3 counselors sign it, the agenda request. Okay, so that's what we're doing.
Okay,
And
Chief.
following the rules and procedures that you had mentioned. And
Just don't walk it to the counselors.
what's that?
Don't walk it.
I didn't walk it to the counselors.
Okay, continue.
So I just wanted to make that statement.
Okay.
Okay.
And I think that I also felt really good with the retreat that we had, that we are, we still struggle with agreeing to disagree in that retreat, but we did agree to move forward a little bit. And that's establishing the rules and procedures, edit and adoption of it. So I think that's a good point. The community needs to know that this council is verbal. I mean, we are vocal. And we are vocal because we want to have our community move forward, not to have antagonistic comments or sarcastic comments or anything like that. It's our passion. Each one of us here has the passion to help our community to move forward. And whatever the roadblocks are, we just have to move, knock it down and move forward. And communication is the most important part of that process of moving forward. So, thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you.
Counselor Libari.
Thank you. I want to thank Chris Roralte and you, Anna Marie, for going out to the Rodriguez Park and getting that field or the Rodriguez Park ready for our district tournaments. We have a little bit of more work to do.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing thing that our New Mexico Department of Transportation Local Government Road Fund for the project that we're doing up in
Keene Street.
my ward. I'm so happy. I've been waiting for this for the past half century. My family, the neighbors,
That'd be good.
thank for the transportation, the council, our administration. Thank you guys all.
I will refer back to you. Counselor.
I just wanted to make a comment, you mentioned to Councilor Howell that you guys went over some of the items in executive pertaining to the audit. Just to remind you that I'm the new guy. I have no idea on that
We still have a
information.
medal. And I do have, Yeah, she'll prepare something. if you'd like a copy of the audit, I don't know if you've received one or not, but
I've seen it online,
Have you
but
seen it?
I mean, some of the discussion, that you mentioned,
Yes.
I wasn't a part of that, just, and I'd like to.
Okay.
And that's part of the corrective action. Okay, do we have need for executive?
No, ma'am, I do not have.
I need a motion to adjourn.
Madam Mayor, I move that we adjourn.
I adopt the motion to adjourn. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council.